Hey everybody, this is Perch, and it's time for another video edition of Let's Tell Perch What to Say. So let's get to this mail. It says, Perch, if that is your real name. It is not. That is not my real name. Some people, every now and then I get a mail like, hey, why do you hide your name? Why do you do this Perch stuff? And I think the answer to that is, it's pretty much summed up in this mail I'm about to read you. Okay, so back to if this is your real name. It is not. I listened to your interview with Sean Murphy. What I can't get over is how the two of you do not thank and respect the people who paved the way for the culture war that you say we won. Why do you go out of your way to talk about anything but the heroes of the culture war? But what aggravates me the most is the fact that neither one of you, but particularly you, quote, Perch, quote. Okay, so if you're putting in quotes, you know it's not my real name, right? Also, RB sucks. Okay, these are all just facts of life. Anyway, Perch, quote, 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 Perch, unquote. You won't say the word agenda. You will bend over backwards to talk about all the problems in comics, but you won't explain or this mail makes no fucking sense. You won't explain or admit that it is an agenda when it is obvious to anyone with half a brain. Used to be a listener, and then the guy puts his name there. Anyway, sorry, I'm not gonna. He puts a name there, but associates himself with a Twitter group that I thought was over. I'm actually surprised to see it still here. I thought it was over. No, it's not that one. It's the other one. Anyway, okay. So look, here's the part that I truly am confused about, and it's this: why is it that so many people, by the way, left, right, all sides of the culture war, why are so many people obsessed? And it really does feel like an obsession with getting you to say specific words. I don't know about you, and your mileage may vary. This may just be me, but I don't like to just regurgitate what people tell me to. It's this crazy independent thought thing. But honestly, the more somebody tells me I have to do something, the less I want to do it. And particularly when it comes to speech, I don't like somebody telling me I have to use a word. Now, I've explained the whole agenda thing every which way but sideways, and I think it's far more complicated, and honestly, it takes a lot more thought to go into what the true problems are. And there's videos upon videos upon videos upon videos of this, and it's not as simple as, hey, a bunch of people sit around and create an agenda. Now, does that mean that an individual says, or even more than one individual, a couple individuals don't get together and say, hey, I'm going to try and do this? Yes, you can call that an agenda. But the reason, the two big reasons why I don't casually label it that is because, one, that word has deeper meaning to a lot of people than just some, couple folks come together and try and do something. And most of you know that. When people say, it's an agenda, they describe it as much bigger than a couple people just being dumbasses. And honestly, I don't like to give people the excuse of it being as simple as an agenda. I think when you say there's an agenda, it kind of, to me, your mileage may vary, and I don't care. I think this is what a lot of people, miss, is I don't need you to agree. Why do you need me to agree with you? That's weird. You don't need my agreement. You don't need my support. You don't need my love. You don't need my acknowledgement. You're a grown human being listening to a voice. It's strange to want those things out of somebody you've never met. It's really strange. But, the reality is when somebody makes dumb mistakes with marketing, when they have a business strategy that basically cannibalizes the only place where the product is sold, when they, tune a comic to be the opposite of the audience that goes into the store, to me, calling it an agenda feels really, really shoddy. It feels like I'm basically giving a huge excuse to a bunch of really stupid behavior. And honestly, not everything boils down to left-wing, right-wing culture war. It just doesn't. There's a lot of factors there, and it's certainly easy to believe in those two little worlds, but quite frankly, the more you see of business, the more you see of human behavior, the more you realize it's dozens and dozens of different factions coming together and battling each other. It's not as simple as just two things. Now, look, comics is meant to be entertainment. At the end of the day, this is the other piece I think people miss. If this is what you want to believe, go nuts. I don't sit around being bothered by that. It took me a long time, but I have come to the conclusion that some YouTubers, some people out there truly are bothered, like in their soul bothered, like, up awake at night bothered. I thought a lot of this stuff was just for laughs, but there comes a point when somebody's doing their, 50th 5-hour live stream about nothing that you start to realize, no, actually, there's a deep-seated need for this stuff to happen, for these people to believe. And I don't think worse of you if you believe it. I don't care. And for what it's worth, if you care about my advice, you shouldn't care either. Comic books are something that, in theory, everybody who comes to this channel says they love. And if you love them, then, you want to try and preserve the stuff you love as much as possible, whether it's in the comics today or whether it's in comics 30, 40 years ago. You want to hold on to those good memories. Well, if you love those comics in the 90s or in the 80s or wherever, and you're really irritated with the comics today, getting really hung up about the agenda of whatever's going on now, it's going to take that enjoyment away. Particularly if you ever go talk to a lot of these people who made those comics you love. I've talked to tons of them. For what it's worth, the politics are not much different. Now, I understand. The part that is it's kind of sad and tough to wrap your head around is if Twitter existed in the 80s, there would definitely be a crowd of comic creators saying stupid shit there. No doubt about it. I'd like to believe that wasn't true, but there would be. Nor am I saying, by the way, that you should just not care. People often, if they don't have an argument against what I say, they go with, so we're supposed to just ignore it. No, you're supposed to do whatever you want. Do what you want. But please, whatever word you want, whatever word I can use to sum it up, it is so cringe to send me mail telling me words I need to say to anyone. But that is by far, in that language, the cringiest shit ever. You need to say these words. And by the way, how is this any different, for what it's worth, than, say, Heather Antos or somebody like that saying, I need you to repost this, vow to comic professionals, whatever. Remember that thing that went around where it's like, we comic men will be allies, that kind of thing that everybody was forced to kind of regurgitate and post? Yeah, how is it different to mail people you've never met or seen and tell them that they need to, and I get a lot of mails like this, quote, say the words. I need you to say the words. That's goofy shit. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. It's weird. It's weird when people, make comic professionals repost something. It's weird when you mail a YouTuber you've never met and say you need to say the words. Frankly, anytime you find yourself saying the expression, you need to say the words, it's weird. I was going to say, maybe, saying the words I do if you just propose to somebody, but even that is weird. Like if you give somebody a ring and you're like, will you marry me? And now I'm going to need you to say the words I do or I will. Like that doesn't work either. Creepy. Anyway, just please, if nothing else, stand up, look around and go, you know what? It's not important for me to make somebody else say these words. And for what it's worth, the majority of quote unquote night letters I get are not from people within the comic industry. It's for people who are insisting that I denounce the comic industry. That's the majority of night letters I get. It's, including like, I did that interview with Sean, and this guy goes on Twitter and posts a bunch of quotes from it, incorrectly, by the way. He posts things that are not true. And then he tags in a bunch of lunatics on Twitter, people who are guaranteed, or I think hoping, to make a big fuss over it. It was very, very bizarre. I mean, look, we did the interview and with Sean, and this person goes in here and posts a bunch of quotes and tags in Rich Johnston, Alex DeCampi, Joe Glass, Kelly Sue. I think Rich may have been mentioned. The others definitely had nothing to do with any of it. CBR is listed there. Bounding into Comics, Comic Ace. I have no idea why, other than the person wanted to get attention, wanted to start trouble. That's it. So why? Anyway, stop making people say stuff. And if you find yourself writing a mail like this, weirdo, don't. You sound like a lunatic. And that has no value to comics. Thanks for listening.